is going on YouTube? Zero Elite here, back again with a new video, episode 37 of the Disco Era U.S.S. Enterprise tutorial. Just want to thank you guys again for tuning into today's video, and if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. Definitely appreciate that. All the comments and all the love that I get for posting these videos. Can't tell you how much I thank you for that. Today we got some cool stuff to work on. We're going to be doing some prep work for our lower hull interior, and we're going to get some detailing done on our circular corridors on our saucer section, and then we're going to pan back around back down to the lower hull and wrap up the last of our prep work before we fill in our deck levels. Not a super long video today, only about 20 minutes, so let's go ahead and jump in. Now you can see on where I've essentially have my quartz block coming out this way. This is directly behind the deflector dish, and it's exactly in the middle. And the reason I did that is because I just wanted it to be symmetrical, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but just wanted it all to match up, and the figure in the middle was the best place to put it. So we have this line here to determine where our decking is going to be. Now, we won't have it in the front here because this area is going to be turned into our interior portion of our deflector dish. And we're pretty much going to be bringing this line back so we can just pretty much have an idea of where we need to have our deck level at. And I'm going to get rid of some of the access that I have around here. I'm just going to make a little box going around here because this little straight line I have going up, this is eventually going to become our vertical turbo lift for the Enterprise. I'm actually really proud of how that came out because I think I have the only Enterprise that has a full turbo lift inside of it. And I'm going to show you guys how to make it. It was pretty cool how it came out. I'm really excited about it because I didn't even do that on my Enterprise A. So I want to jump into our circular corridors. You can see on the left that we're adding half slabs on the roof. Now you're probably thinking, hey, when we were working on this before, you started to do this and said you didn't want to do it because it's kind of messing up the curve. And that's kind of true, but the more I was sitting on this, just kind of feels like something's missing up here. And there's too much roof exposed and that it needs a curve on this side. So, I mean, I will jump back and forth with that. And I mean, I recommend that too for you guys when you're doing these builds because, you know, there's literally multiple ways to do this. I'm not even saying what my way is the best way. I'm just saying that, hey, this might just inspire you to do something completely different too. You really never know, but point is that there's 1,001 ways to build these ships. So there's going to be some variations, and there's going to be different ways that you build it, different things that you try out. You might leave it for a while, looks like crap to you. Maybe you go back and change it or whatever. But it's a great way to get an idea of what you're working with, just to build it out and take a look at it. It seems to work out really well. But we're just going to bang all this out, and then we're just going to take a look at it. But we're definitely getting some stuff done. Like I said, this episode is mostly going to be prep work to fill in our hull because we have some stuff we've got to move out from the inside, just a little bit of access of blocks from the construction from the lower hull. But don't worry, I'm going to show you guys exactly what you need to remove if you got the same thing going on. And then in the next episode, we're going to be able to really start getting into this. But I'm excited because now we're really getting to a point where we're going to start jumping more into the interior. And like I said, there's still a lot to do on the outside. We still have a lot of detailing to do. We still have to do the registration. There's still a lot of pinstriping that we have to do and some little hull details here and there. So we'll basically just going to be jumping back and forth between the inside and outside. And I think that'll be a good thing because it'll switch it up a little bit. maybe not so much if you're trying to get just one thing done. But I don't necessarily recommend that, just because sometimes if you're building something, it's best to take little breaks here and there from it, especially on this scale, just so you don't get yourself burnt out and then start making mistakes and then it comes out bad and then maybe you get frustrated or like, I'm just done with it. Because trust me, I've been there. I've had ships that I've just completely given up on, like my U.S.S. Discovery. um, when I built that the first time, like I had a bunch of people ask me to do it. I thought it was an interesting ship, but I didn't really enjoy the show, so I really didn't get any passion to build it. But I did it anyway, and when I went back again to check my mistakes, I started to work on it. I just never finished the darn thing. Because I was just like, I'm over it, you know. But I don't think that won't be the case here with the Enterprise, because I do truly love pretty much all the Enterprise classes and variations of them. I've had a bunch of people asking me about different versions of the Enterprise. I've been having people ask me what my next build is going to be. I'm pretty certain at this point it's going to be the Enterprise D or Voyager, one or the other. And there's kind of a couple reasons why I want to do those two ships specifically, because they're both different from a Constitution class, and a lot of the ships. I mean, I've done I think 5 or 6 ships now, but a lot of them are Constitution classes, and I want to show that I can do other ships too. And at the same time, I want them to be what you guys want to see, because obviously, I want to get as many views out of it as I possibly can. Then on top of that, my personal reason for wanting to do it is Enterprise D. I loved TNG growing up. That was one of my favorite shows. That was actually originally what introduced me to Star Trek. Watching that with my dad as a kid, and eventually, I saw the movies with Shatner growing up too, and then that introduced me to TOS TV show and all that other stuff. Um, I want to hop back in what I got going on here real quick, but you can see now after we added our half slabs, now we're just going to do a gray detail line just going along with the cut, and we're just going to continue this going all the way around. But anyway, what I was talking about is that um, I think that the Enterprise D will be a good exercise to test out applying all these skills to a much bigger scale ship and different proportions. And I'm excited to see how that's going to pan out. And on top of that, I've had a lot of people ask for it. The other reason why I want to do Voyager, because again, I loved Voyager, great show, um, and I've had a lot of people asking for it. But also, Voyager is going to be prep work for the Enterprise E, and that's kind of what I was trying to lean into. Is that um, all three of those ships in different ways are going to have their own challenges. The Enterprise D, the proportions of the saucer, how big it is to the neck, it's just completely different shapes going on there. And then Voyager, that's a little bit more closer step to the Enterprise E. It's a necklace ship. It's a little bit more streamlined. I've never done a necklace ship really before, not to that detail. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then by the time I'm done with that, I don't want to say it's going to be the Enterprise E after that, but I am going to do the Enterprise E at some point, because I thought that design of that ship was really cool. I think I'm actually, and I've had other people ask me about other versions of the Constitution class, like the original Enterprise A. I think inevitably I'm going to do the Enterprise A too. It's just going to happen at some point. Um, I think the only versions of the Enterprise that I haven't gotten asked to do that I may not end up doing is Enterprise B or the Enterprise C, because kind of technically, sorta, um, the Enterprise B, it's an Excelsior class ship, and I kind of class the Vengeance as the Kelvin verse Excelsior class. I mean, that's the ship that stood in for it. And if you look at them side to side, the Vengeance has a striking resemblance to the Excelsior. That's all I'm saying. I know that might be controversial to some people, but I'm telling you, pull up the pictures side by side and tell me that that's not a beefed up Excelsior class ship, because it really is. But no, I think that'll be the reason why I don't do the Enterprise B. I mean, maybe at some point, you never know. I might, get froggy on it, decide that I want to do it, but I don't necessarily have a lot of passion for that ship. I think a lot of that has to do with, I loved Generations, great movie, but I didn't like it at the same time because Kirk died. I think that was my biggest downside with that movie. Outside of that, it was a great movie, but it's kind of like I don't know if you ever seen I Am Legend with the dog. I don't like it because the dog dies. And I'm not trying to compare Shatner to a dog, but it's just kind of like the same thing. Like I loved Shatner growing up, and to watch his character die on screen like that, it was hard to do, even watching it as a kid. So for that reason, that's out of all the Star Trek movies, the one that I will watch the least for that reason. But we definitely have a lot of cool stuff that's going to be coming out. So, I've got the definite intention to build most of the enterprises. And then on top of that, we're going to be doing a lot of other different ship builds too. And you never know, I might be throwing in some, just left field stuff completely. Like I've done in the past with the Tony Stark mansion. I did the Beauty and the Beast castle. I built that for my girlfriend. And I'm not gonna lie, out of the Disney movies, Beauty and the Beast was probably my number one as a kid. So can't even front on that. So that was definitely a cool build. So I mean, we'll just have to kind of see what happens, because I definitely look in the comment section to see what you guys want. Um, Definitely take that into consideration depending on what stuff I add. So I try to give you guys, for the most part, what I can, what you want. Like, in this case, this is honestly why I'm doing the Discovery Enterprise because I felt that that was a good compromise between the people that were asking for the original Enterprise, the TOS version, and then the original Enterprise A. And I was like, you know what? I can just do the Disco era and like, I can suggest how to modify it. Now, again, with that being said, inevitably I am going to go back and I will do an Enterprise A. And I don't know if I'm going to build it from scratch or if we might have some fun here and modify the Disco era Enterprise into the Enterprise A. Now, what I can tell you is that will be a lot of work. Um, so I'm gonna have to see how I feel at that time when I decide to do that, if I want to modify it or build a brand new ship, because there's some stuff you have to take into consideration. Because I've done this before when I modified my 2009 Enterprise into the Enterprise A from Star Trek Beyond. I did not rebuild that ship from scratch. I basically just refitted it, just like in the original movies. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do, but it was a ton of work. I basically rebuilt that ship twice, and then on top of that, had to delete the first ship just to build the second one. So I don't think it's going to be nearly that much to change this version of the Enterprise, but it could very well be end up being just as much work to do it. So for that reason, if I do, when I do build Enterprise, the original Enterprise A, it's probably going to be from scratch, just for that reason alone. You never know. I might end up modding it just to show you guys how to do it, but we'll have to kind of play it by ear and see what happens. So jumping back in what we got going on here, you can see that we have shifted on from our corridors back down into our lower hall. And you can see I'm just shaving off the sides. This is literally just access from the builds when we're working out the proportions of the outside. I know one of my rules is I tell you guys if you're not going to use something, delete it. The reason I didn't do it here is because at this point, I was more concerned with the outside of the ship. And as long as you're careful with deleting, you can do it row by row, shaving off the access. Obviously, when you hit a point that you're hitting outside, you've gone too far. So you can do it as long as you do it carefully, kind of like I'm doing here. We're going to do the full block of quartz going all the way across. Just basically want a divider line because I'm not saying this is how big the shuttle bay is going to be. I ended up being a little bit bigger than this, but I just basically want a divider line to get an idea. And now we're going to do our hull line, or not our hull line, our main hallway line, I guess you could say, or prep for it, going straight back. Now that I know I had said in the beginning of the video that in the front on the deflector that was going to be prepped for our main hallway line, which it originally was. And I actually forgot about this, but I go back because that's a little bit lower than what the shuttle bay is, and I want it to be the same level where you don't have to go up a flight of stairs or down a flight of stairs, because that's not how it was in the shows or any of the movies, not in this area of the ship. So I want to make sure that everything is level when you go deck to deck. So now we're going to go back, we're going to delete this old line because now we have our new main guideline for what our main hull is going to be. So that gray line that we just added, you can consider that to be engineering deck 1, basically, the main deck. So I just added like a guideline eventually for our deflector dish on the inside. We're going to detail that pretty cool. I got some high res pictures from it was I don't think it was Polar Lights, but it was like one of those big companies that they do like the really high quality ships, and they built the Discovery, and like parts of the ship like come apart, and there's a picture of the deflector dish, and they have it pulled out, and you can see the inner workings of it. And that was actually really cool because I used that as a direct reference to build the inside portion of the deflector dish. So that's going to be a really cool portion to go over. One of the things I did talk about in previous episodes is that the interior of this ship is going to be closer to the TOS Enterprise. And the reason for that is because I've said it in the past that I just wish that they would take a little bit more care with Star Trek, just like they do with Star Wars, and respect the canon. I get that the TOS series was made on a budget of $100 and a box of chewing gum, but at the same time, you've got to figure out a way to find that balance to stay true and update at the same time, you know? And they can do it if they tried really hard. I definitely believe that. And they got totally lazy with Discovery. So we're going to, there's going to be stuff that's going to feel very familiar to Discovery, like the corridors, that's, straight out of the show. But a lot of the other things like the engineering bay, that's going to be a lot closer to the TOS Enterprise. And I slightly referenced the Constitution refit. And the reason I did that is because I've said this in the past that I challenge you to find any interior of an Enterprise that is 100% accurate. I don't care which version of the Enterprise it is. Interior blueprints are going to vary depending on who made them. So my point is that you can pretty much make this thing however you want on the inside of it. But I'm going to show you guys how to do it in a way to where you can keep it somewhat accurate, but at the same time taking some liberties with the interior. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much of this ship that they show, you know? So it's definitely going to take some imagination there. And this was an old guideline. We're just getting rid of this. So I feel bad, as we're not getting a lot done in this episode, but this is more prep work. But you got to do the prep work sometimes before you can really lay it out, like we did, kind of like in the first 6 episodes of the tutorial series. We are pretty much doing nothing but circles all day. But at the same time, all that prep work made it easier later on, where we pretty much have only had to use a pixel circle generator. Really, I think it was in like the last 2 episodes. On one of them, we used the pixel circle generator when we extended the curve. Other than that, we only used it for like the first couple because we did all that stuff first. Pretty much, I tried to do the hardest things first. But at the same time, like I also started like that for a reason because you need to start with the saucer too just to get your proportions right. You can see I'm just kind of shaving this out. A lot of this stuff we may not even see by the time the ship is done from the inside, but nonetheless, I want everything to match up on both sides. I think that's the most important part because um, when we do start adding stuff in, you don't want to hit a snag, in continuity from side to side. Because there's no really set blueprint, we're just inevitably, in some cases, adding in layers where we have no choice. But I think we're looking pretty good here. Nope, I went one back too far. Let's fix that. You can delete that one and that one on the right. That looks pretty good. How are we looking so far? We got about 1 minute left in the episode. Not really much left to do, but we definitely have a lot of cool stuff to come. There's going to be way more. Really, in the next couple of episodes, we're really going to start rocking and rolling with this interior, starting with the engineering bay, and then we'll work our way up to the saucer section and fill in all those rooms. I haven't filled every single one of them in myself. My goal for the tutorial is to fill in every room, but by the time we're done with it, it might end up being like maybe one or two rooms are left empty. We'll kind of have to see what happens. I'm going to try to do it to a point where we can do everything. Now I want to pause this for a second. I know we don't have much time left on the recording, but I wanted to take this opportunity to show you guys, since we're working on it, um, this piece I was talking about on the deflector dish, on the interior for it. So this is what I was talking about right here. When they had that deflector coming out, you could see like it's basically got like this purple ring going around it. So we're going to try to rebuild that, and then like, also like this dome, or not dome, but the circle shape going around it. We're going to try to recreate this area here as much as we can. So I'm just kind of prepping that out, getting the first couple of lines down, and then in the next few episodes we'll really bring the detail out. You might also notice that there's no sound on this episode. That's actually because at this point in the recordings, um, I was having problems with my open broadcaster, and for whatever reason, I couldn't stop this ringing sound from coming up anytime I'd start recording. I've since then gotten it fixed after I think like 1 to 2 episodes, but you're gonna see that. I think it's like this one and like the next episode after, you're not gonna hear any sound other than me talking, and I apologize for that. That's just because simply the audio got messed up on it. I just decided to mute the video so you guys don't hear that. So I didn't want to put you all through that. Anyway, that's going to wrap up episode 37. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to be informative, talking about a lot about stuff that we have coming up, and also just going into different parts of the ship and showing you the picture of the deflector, kind of like what we got going. I'm trying to be a little bit more descriptive, but for whatever reason, if I don't cover something enough in detail, make sure to drop a comment below. I'll try to get to your answer in the comment section. I'm usually pretty responsive in that section. If I don't get to your question there, I'll probably get to it in a video. Also, be sure to tune in tomorrow for episode 38. And you can always check out new episodes Monday through Saturday. The only day that I don't release videos is on Sundays, with a fair few exceptions. But I've been pretty good about getting them out every day for you guys. So that's going to do it for me. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. And I will catch you on the next episode.